Okay, hi brothers and sisters. We're back for another video. I must apologize. This was supposed to be the one on wisdom. I did not get the time that I thought I was going to get Monday night. And I haven't had the time since, but it is on my agenda to do next. That is what I'm going to do next. I had been looking at this today. I hadn't been in the study of wisdom. I got to refresh myself on that. Hopefully I will get to recording a video this week on wisdom. But I realize, oftentimes I will point you to an older video, and sometimes them older videos can be a little bit confusing since, my own clarity on the subject has grown over time, and our own, those has been with, you understand we're on a climb for the truth. And that takes time. You're going to make mistakes as you go, and you're going to begin to focus more acutely, on the topic and bring it, into your focus more clearly. And over time, we've certainly managed to do that, I think. And one of the topics that I had did a video on had been how we link the name Satan straight back to Adam, the accuser. And so we're going to take a look at that topic again. We're going to try to really clarify it in less words, actually. And we're going to bring in a verse to do that with, because it actually tells us who the accuser is in the verse. And we're going to go, here, let me find my page that we need to get to. Right here. We're going to go to Job 31, verse 35. And we've looked at these two chapters, Job 30, Job 31. And what we found that, through our slow growing understanding, with all of our stumblings and all of our mistakes, that we have managed to understand that the Shulamite is who is speaking in many of these passages where she is being accused and gnashed upon. And the Shulamite is one of the terminologies used for the presence of God on earth. She goes by other names as well in the scriptures, is what we've understood. But when she says, my skin grows black upon me, she'll appear in these scriptures again. She says, my skin grows dark and peels, right? It blisters and peels under this intense heat of false light that was accusatory. And the interesting thing about Balaam's father's name, Peor, I think was Balaam's father's name, it meant a burning, an anger. And she says, the sons has made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard I have not kept. And the idea is that there was a great anger. There was a burning hatred against her. And she says, you hated me without a cause from the beginning. You had no reason to hate me. And yet you gnashed on me without reason. But here we have us telling us outright who the accuser is. And we find it in Job 31:35, like I said. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. I sign now my defense. We're going to take a look at what appears here for her sign, my defense. Let the Almighty answer me, and let my accuser put his indictment in writing. Now, the video that I had posted, like I said, had linked us straight back to Adam, the accuser. Here we get an accuser. So let's look at the word for accuser here and see if this validates anything that we've come to understand by putting many various texts together. So let's look at this word. Here it's translated, when we pull the interlinear up on it, it's 376, and it's my prosecutor is how they have this translated in this particular passage when we go in interlinear. Now when we hit on the word 376, you know what it says? Man. That's it. That's the word for the prosecutor here. For the one accusing. For the accuser, man. Man, the accuser. Now, who was he accusing? They'll tell you it was another man that he was accusing. No. The first accusation that ever is clearly made is made by the man towards the woman. That's right. So here we have man. That's what we have. Okay. Now, let's backtrack here, because the commentary is very interesting. And again, we're going to get to these words in a minute. This should not be a very long video. But isn't that interesting? All right. So some says the translation on this, especially in passages like the King James, is wrong. Let me see here if I can pull out. It says it's more correctly perhaps, and this is the Ellicott's commentary for English readers. He says it's more correctly perhaps should be translated that I had the book or indictment that my adversary hath written. Would that I had it in black and white before me, that I might deal with it accordingly and answer it point to point. That's what we've been attempting to do on this channel. We have. And what's the book we discovered was the accusation and the indictment. We discovered it was this right here, the Holy Bible. All right? And what we discovered is that the true word is the little book that you see the angel in Revelation 10 known as the seventh trumpet. That's right. Trumpet means somebody who's voicing the Spirit of the Lord. You know, the Lord says, who will go? And then somebody steps forward and they go, right? You don't know if you've been chosen or not unless the Spirit actually indicates that to you. You have a deep enough willingness to search for those various indicators on who you are personally before the Lord. People say, well, you're not supposed to. Yes, you are supposed to do that. All my studies, everything I've hit indicates that, yes, you are. That is how you develop a personal relationship with God. So, she says here that I had the accusation written in an indictment that my adversary has written. Would that I had it in black and white before me. We do. Right here. All right? But they don't want you to know who you are. And they're so hopeful that the next heir that's handed this job don't know who they are. They're so hoping that you don't know who you are. That you're not going to go in and you're actually going to find your point-by-point proof of what was going on. So, I want it to go, where was it? Psalm 50 first. All right, and I've always said this is her. And again, it is. Because if you go back to Psalm 55, or go ahead rather, to Psalm 55, she says, oh, that I had the wings of a dove. She doesn't say, oh, that I had the wings of a pigeon. It's clearly her. And we also get the dove identified being burned to ashes. That's right. The women, the feminine aspect, have her burned to ashes. And she is a dove identified laying as an ash heap around these village of women who, once they hear the truth, they take it out. And we get that in Psalm 68. And it says that the wings, that thou, my love, might have the wings of a dove that are covered in gold and silver, or silver and gold. And you get that in Psalm 68, because this is what the gnashing led to, right? The burning out of their covenant out of the land. And so she wants to address that case. We get the address to that case in Psalm 50. And she says, you unleash your mouth for evil, and unhappiness your tongue for deceit. Right? Did I read that right? And unharness, sorry, I did. You unleash your mouth for evil, unharness your tongue for deceit. And we've done studies on, all of this allegory of the covenant, the bow being allegorical to a covenant. The words that comes off the tongue is sharp, painful. Your teeth is also allegorical to the gnashing that goes on, but also the arrows that gets fired off of that lying covenant that pierces and gnashes upon the daughters to take the spirit of their covenant out of the land. And we've identified that as a simple truth. But here she says, verse 19, she says, you unleash your mouth for evil and unharness your tongue for deceit. You sit and malign not your brother, it was the sisters they were maligning. You sit and malign your sister and you slander your own mother's daughter. That's what you did. You slandered her. And he did it when he appointed and accused her. Now, I think, this is my personal opinion, that Eve's response was simply wrote in there. That's what I believe. Because all indication is that she went silent. It's almost as if she was not there when Adam accused her. Right? That's almost what you get. It was just, she wasn't there. And she says, long time have I been silent, have I held my peace. I didn't say nothing. And it's allegorical to a court case. And he accused her. He gnashed upon her behind her back is what we get. And he did it over and over again. And so we see her saying it in Psalm 55. She says, oh, that I had the wings of a dove and that I might fly away, into the depths. She just didn't want to have to deal with this accusation by somebody that she thought cared about her and who clearly did not. All he cared about was himself and power. And so she says, but you slander your own mother's daughter. So we get the word slander in the New Testament. We did look at, and of course the word I couldn't find was the one right after that one. If I'd have just went ahead one, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I wasn't at the time. But if you'd gone ahead by one, it means to slander and to change the good to the bad. And so we also get with Satan, the meaning of Satan, he slandered. And he slanders her to debase and to defame her in the land, which is the meaning that we get with Satan's accusation when you look at all those words. And that's one that I didn't pull up this time. But it's there for anybody who's studied and looked at it. And so, okay, so let's get into this. So she says, you sit and you malign your sister. You slander your own mother's daughter. You have done these things and I kept silent. You see? She says it over and over again. You thought I was just like you. I think she's saying, you thought I was a man just like you. I'm not a man, I'm a woman, and I'm made in my mother's image. I am not made in my father's image. If we follow the science, father couldn't make me. Plain and simple. You are not reasoning or making an ounce of sense. So you have done these things and I kept silent. You thought I was a man just like you. But now I rebuke you and I will accuse you to your face. So we get stand up for your cause, God. And the God that they're talking about is the daughters inside the nation of Israel that was the presence of God on earth. And I won't go into detail how we proved that, but we proved it. Okay? So we get the accuser, who is man. So how might we connect that also? How else might we be able to connect that? Well, I don't know. I wrote them all down. It's just simpler. Sorry, I can't talk. My teeth, when I lost a filling. And it causes, the teeth to kind of get out of line. So my teeth don't bother me. They don't hurt. Sorry, I don't mean to discuss all of that. But the word we wanted to look at, is it on this string here? Regardless, I took them all down. There's one. Okay, so if you go to Strong's Greek, all right, we come upon Beelzebub, right? Beelzebub. And we've all heard this, at least us kids that was born some time ago, in a lot of movies in the 70s and 80s. Beelzebub, Beelzebub, the devil, and sometimes in these cute little shows. And everybody knew one of the names of the devil was Beelzebub. Beelzebub, they'll say, which is Beelzebub. But Strong's Greek it's Beelzebul. It's a name of Satan. Yeah, Beelzebul. They got it right. The chief of evil spirits. Beelzebub, a title of Satan that stresses he is princess over the demons, demonic flies. So it says, see also 4, 5, 6, 7, Satan. So Satan, i.e., the devil of Chaldee origin, corresponding to, guess what? My bad. Yeah, that's just how you would say it. My, comma, or my bad. That's right, apostrophe. My bad. With the definite affix, the accuser. Okay, so Satan, Beelzebub, a name of Satan, then the devil, or Satan, the devil of the Chaldea origin, corresponding to my bad. That, I believe my bad, I didn't look it up, but just from memory, I believe it meant bad, the works, right? The works of the devil, the bad works. My bad. And a lot of time you get men saying it. My bad. Why men? With the definite affix, the accuser, i.e. the devil Satan. Word origin of Beelzebub, it says of uncertain origin. CF, Baal, capital B-A-A-L. So that takes us to Strong's Hebrew 1176, sorry. Baal, Zebub, it's two words. Baal, of the flies. So it says, see also, Baal, capital B-A, apostrophe A-L, which is 1168, which will tell you it is a heathen god. Okay, stay with me, we're getting there. Strong's Hebrew 1168, Baal, B-A-A-L, this is capital, plural of Balaam. So it's linking us to what caused the plague. Once we studied, we understood what the plague was that broke in upon the daughters inside the nation of Israel, known as the right hand of God. All right, so Baal, we got plural, Balaam. It's the same as small B-A apostrophe A-L. So Baal with the large capital B is a Phoenician deity. Baal, plural, Balaam, all right? And what else? We're going to go right to it now because I've got this one up. It's the same as Baal, right? Small b-a apostrophe a-l. What does that mean? Owner, Lord. Let's go into depth here. Archers. Anybody know why that's special? Because we've studied why the archers in Joseph's blessings were shooting at the branches as it passed over the wall. The archers was here, Baal. Bird, bound, bridegroom. Oh, look, you mean Beelzebub is the same as Baal, your bridegroom, husband, the accuser, as in Adam, the accuser in the garden, who accused, which takes us straight back to that verse in Job. What did it say? Job 31:35. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. I sign now my defense. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my accuser. What was accuser? Man. Man. And we've linked it all back to Satan, who was Adam, the accuser in the garden. And we also see the restrainer, known as the Holy Spirit, going silent in Isaiah 42, known as the woman that will deliver the children in a pathway that they do not know of. Long time have I held my peace, she says. Isaiah 42, now will I go forth as a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. She says, I will lead you in pathways that you have not known. Right? She'll make you feel ashamed of your worthless idols. Idols there are male. Yeah? Are we getting it? We should be. It's right out there for all you to see in the world and how it works and how it spins. So let's take a quick look at sign. Okay? The sign. She says, I would sign it. Well, you know what the sign is? You know what we concluded from everything that we gathered, all the intel and information to present our case, right? After all of the accusations got made against the woman, right? And the plague break in upon her, right? Worship of Baal, husband as Lord and God, that was the plague. You know what the sign is? We found out the sign actually is Emeth. And you know what that sign looks like? What we realized the mark was? It was this. This is her mark. That's right. X. Let me see. Is that father? Ooh. Is that father's mark? Well, you got that wrong. It's the cross. The cross is a sign with the head cut off. She says, you took everything and you turned it upside down and you drove the sovereign Lord's head right into the ground is what you did. Yeah. You nailed her to a cross and cut the head off. That's what you did. That's just what you did. You pierced and pierced to take the spirit of her covenant out of the land so you could exalt a man as Lord and God. And you shed blood, all right. You shed a lot of it to do what you needed to do. And that mark on her head is called Emeth, we discovered. And the word mark here, I will sign it. She's signing it as the sovereign Lord, and she signs it because it is the truth. And the word here is 8420, Tav. It's not the mark of a cross, as they would love to believe. This is just a mockery of her. They mocked her by cutting the head off. That's what they did. Her head. It's interesting, right, that you get this, I forget what it was called, I used to know what it was called, carried around by the various pictures of Egyptian gods and goddesses carrying that around. I forget what it's called. It starts with an A, doesn't it? It's interesting, though, isn't it? But she says, you turned everything upside down. And it says, as above, so below. But we discovered that's not true. It's just a reflection. That when you do turn everything upright, yeah, everything's going to be upright, right? It's not this and this. It's a reflection, is what we discovered. Sorry, I got off track. But a mark, 8420. And that mark is Emeth. It's a mark on the forehead, a sign of exemption from judgment. And my written mark in attestation to my personal, testimony. My personal testimony to the truth. Now, Emeth, we know, is the Hebrew word for truth. And as we discovered how they would bring a golem, up to serve them, they would put the word Emeth, right? And the way that they would take it back down into the grave would be to remove the E. Well, E-M in Hebrew means mother. That's what it means. And Met itself, when you remove the E, means death, right? So when you cross that E out, you actually bring on death, is what you do to the body. And Golem does appear one time in the Old Testament. It's with David in Psalm 139. He says, you saw all of my substance when as yet, I was not yet, but you saw all of my substance and you knew all that I would be and become. And the word there is Golem. It's used one time in the Old Testament. But if you want to understand what I'm trying to drive at, go study Jewish mythology about the Golem. And oftentimes it would be this word Emeth, right, which means truth. But Em means mother, and I suspect strongly that this is the mothers of truth's mark, Emeth, truth. And this means the female, X, right? It doesn't mean the male. The Y is male. But the X is female. And we see them striking the head off. That's right. And putting a male head on her body. That's what we saw, so he could rule. So, the mark from exemption also has the idea of, your doctrine that you believe, right? And when you're bowed down at the feet of an idol, you are not worshiping the way of God. You're not. God told you over and over again, you were to bow to no idol. You were to walk in the way of God. And so there we go. I'm not going to babble anymore. I've babbled long enough on this. I did have some other links pulled out, meaning of Balaam, his name. Where is it? In biblical names, the meaning of the name Balaam is, which was the plural of Baal, which means idols, masters, and false gods. That's what this one said. But if you go in on Ebram Publications, it goes into a little bit more depth. And it says, swallowing up the people, the destroyer of people. Baal. That's who it was. Baal. Husband as Lord and God, right? Which is what your solar calf deity out of Egypt became known as eventually. Baal. And then God receives a bull sacrifice of blood. God says, I required no blood of you. All I asked of you was thanksgiving, that you offer up thanksgiving, right, unto me. Not blood. I didn't ask for bulls. She says, I would have no bulls or goats out of you. None. And if I was hungry, I would not ask you for anything because I own everything. And she says, I certainly didn't ask for blood. But she says, I won't condemn you. It says in one part there, yeah. That is Psalm 50. And I believe they translated that wrong. I think she was condemning them. The sense and reasoning of the whole context is that, yes, she is condemning them. Where is it? She says, I will not reprove thee for thy sacrifices of thy burnt offerings to have been continually before me. I think she was saying, I will reprove you. I will take, because the following verse validates it that it was not. It was that she was reproving them. She says, I do not reprove you for your sacrifices. But she was in the next verse. So somebody stuck that little word not in there. I will reprove thee for thy sacrifices or thy burnt offerings, which I didn't ask for, to have been continually before me. I will take no bullock out of thy house, nor he-goats out of thy folds. Right? For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountains and the wild beasts of the fields are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell thee, for the world is mine and the fullness thereof. This is your sovereign Lord speaking to you. Will I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? So you still think she's not reproving them? Of course she's reproving them. This is what this whole conversation is about. And then it says, offer unto God thanksgiving, not bloodshed, not meat, thanksgiving, to be thankful in your heart and to pay thy vows unto the Most High. You know what the vows were here? The vows of truth, to bring forth the law of heaven, of God's law, commandments, and to follow them. That was your oath and that was your vow that you broke. Call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and thou shalt glorify me. But unto the wicked, God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take my covenant in your mouth? You don't even know my covenant. You broke your vow when you began bloodshed in the land. Seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee. Where did we get the instructions? We get them in Proverbs 1. Wisdom instructing them, and they would not hear. And she says, I'll mock you in the day of your calamity, because you couldn't be bothered to listen to me. When thou sawest a thief, then you consentest with him, and has been partaker with adulterers. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. And they did. This is where, right here. We also get false prophets. And she tells them in Jeremiah 23, she says, don't you prophesy and say, the burden of the Lord, the burden of the Lord. And yet we found in the Old Testament prophets prophesying, which are held up off the pulpit saying, the burden of the Lord, the burden of the Lord, which was about the deliverance of the children through mother and her daughters, right? The children have come to the birth, but there is not strength to deliver. You know why? Because they are filled up with a lie. That's why. They couldn't deliver their own children. So thou sittest and speakest against thy own sister. You slanderest thine own mother's daughter. This is the accuser, man. We just hit on the word. Job 31:35. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Takes us to Isaiah 42. Long time have I held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove you and set them in order before your eyes. That's the Koheleth doing it. That's Asaph, your gatherer. That's right. Now consider this, you that have forgot God, the true presence of God on earth, lest I tear you in pieces and there be none to deliver. That takes us to Micah chapter 4 and 5, the lioness. That's right. With the dew. Right, the dew of the dawn on their mouth. We get the doe of the dawn in Psalm 22. The bulls of Bashan surrounded her and gnashed upon her to take the spirit of her covenant out of the land. Now consider this, you that have forgotten God, lest I tear you in pieces and there be none to deliver. Whosoever offereth praise glorifieth me. And to those that ordereth their conversation aright, I will show the salvation of God, the truth. I will show you the truth. But if you don't call on me in the time of trouble, then I'm not going to help you order your conversation. Anyway, there we go. That's the video. Sorry I blathered on. Could have been shorter. Wow. Come on. It's not going large for me. Why? Anyway, I thank you for watching my video. I hope you share it. I hope you try to understand these truths for yourself. Know that they are there in the Old Testament. Let me see. I pray you're blessed with an abundance of the water. I pray you're washed in it. And I hope y'all have a really nice day. And thanks again.